As the younger sister of King Charles III, Princess Anne has always stood out for her quiet dedication, hard work, and straightforward attitude towards her royal responsibilities. She's perfectly happy to stay in the background while others grab the limelight. But in a surprising twist, everything is about to change. Join us as we dive into how Princess Anne has finally decided to speak up and leave everyone in shock. Princess Anne, a life of duty and passion. Before we dive into the recent revelations from Princess Anne that have left everyone buzzing, let's rewind to the very beginning. Born on August 15, 1950, Princess Anne entered the world at Clarence House, stepping into a life filled with privilege but also heavy expectations. As the second child and only daughter of Princess Elizabeth, who would soon become Queen Elizabeth II, and Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, Anne's arrival was celebrated with a grand 21-gun salute in Hyde Park. From the get-go, though, it was clear her path would be quite different from that of her older brother, Charles. Growing up, Anne had a childhood that was anything but ordinary, even by royal standards. With her mother preparing to take the throne following the death of King George VI in 1952, Queen Elizabeth was often busy handling the affairs of the state. This meant Anne and her brothers, Charles, Andrew, and Edward, were mainly looked after by a governess named Catherine Peebles. Despite being surrounded by people, Anne often felt lonely. Being the only girl in a family where her brother Charles was being groomed for the most significant role of all, the future king, had its challenges. From a young age, she understood that she would never steal the spotlight like Charles. While he was being prepped for leadership, Anne was expected to embrace other duties, ones that would keep her in the background, yet still within the royal limelight. Unlike the carefree childhood many might imagine for a princess, Anne's days were structured, disciplined, and designed to prepare her for a supportive role in the royal family. Anne's mother became queen when she was just 2 years old, which flipped the family dynamics upside down. While the world was busy watching young Charles, the heir to the throne, Anne was being guided towards a future that was all about duty but without the intense public scrutiny that Charles faced. She quickly learned to embrace her role, one filled with responsibility but without the crown. As the second child, Anne knew she'd never be queen, and she accepted that reality from a young age. She made it clear that she had no desire to change that. Even when Charles had sons and her position in the line of succession dropped, she didn't feel resentful. Instead, she took pride in the unique contributions she could make to the royal family. It was as if she quietly let go of any claim to the throne and focused on carving out a different path for herself. Or so she thought. Little did she know, some dramatic changes were just around the corner. One of the most revealing aspects of Anne's character is her love of horses. In the world of equestrianism, she discovered her true passion and, in many ways, her escape. Growing up, Anne was encouraged to explore hobbies and interests, and she naturally gravitated towards horses. While the public knew her as Princess Anne, she found true comfort in the stables, where she could simply be herself, away from the royal spotlight. Princess Anne's equestrian achievements have been nothing short of incredible. At just 21 years old, she clinched the title at the European Eventing Championship, becoming a well-known figure in the sports world. She even earned the title of BBC Sports Personality of the Year in 1971, showcasing her dedication and skill. For over 5 years, Anne was a key member of the British eventing team and even took part in the 1976 Olympic Games in Montreal. Despite suffering a concussion during one of the events, she showed true grit by remounting her horse and finishing the course, all while having no memory of jumping those hurdles. In 1986, she became the president of the Fédération Équestre Internationale, further solidifying her influence in the equestrian community. Even after her competitive days, she remained a significant figure in the world of equestrian sports, using her platform to promote discipline and support athletes. Since 1971, she has also been a patron of the Riding for the Disabled Association, a role she still holds dear. Fast forward to today, and Princess Anne is regarded as one of the most respected and reliable members of the royal family. So, why do people often say that she's one of the busiest and hardest working royals? Let's find out. Royal duties. Since she was 18, Princess Anne has really shown us what hard work looks like. She jumped into her royal duties with a true commitment and never looked back. Her first taste of public service came just after she finished secondary school in 1969. when she opened an educational and training center in Shropshire. From that point on, she was all about representing the royal family, both at home and around the globe. Over the years, Anne has traveled to loads of countries, including Norway, Jamaica, Australia, and even Russia, making her one of the most well-traveled royals out there. Her first trip abroad was a state visit to Austria with her parents, and then in 1970 she toured Australia, which really kicked off her impressive career as a global ambassador for the UK. She's been all about building relationships and spreading goodwill everywhere she goes. One of her standout moments was back in 1990 when she became the very first member of the British royal family to visit the Soviet Union, thanks to an invite from President Mikhail Gorbachev. This visit was pretty important, especially during a time when the political scene was changing a lot. Fast forward to 2016, and she found herself back in Russia, this time celebrating the 75th anniversary of Operation Dervish, showing her dedication to remembering history and military achievements. But Princess Anne's commitment doesn't stop at state visits. Since 1970, she has been heavily involved with Save the Children, first as its president and now as a patron. She's visited tons of projects around the world, from Bangladesh to South Africa and Mozambique, showing just how invested she is in the charity's mission. In fact, her efforts were so impressive that in 1990, she was even nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize by Kenneth Kaunda, who was the president of Zambia at the time. How amazing is that? Over the years, Princess Anne has teamed up with more than 200 charities and organizations, getting involved in all sorts of causes. Her love for healthcare really shines through in her work with groups like St. John Ambulance, where she's the Commandant-in-Chief. She's also a big supporter of the Royal College of Midwives, the Royal College of Emergency Medicine, and the Magpie's Air Ambulance, showing how much she cares about medical and emergency services. When it comes to education and professional development, Anne has been a champion for years. Since 1981, she's been the Chancellor of the University of London, stepping into the role after her grandmother, the Queen Mother, retired. Then in 2011, she took over as Chancellor of the University of Edinburgh, following in her father's footsteps. Through these roles, she's been a real advocate for higher education, staying active in academic ceremonies and initiatives. But wait, there's more. In 2007, Anne was appointed Grand Master of the Royal Victorian Order, just like her grandmother. She's also taken on other important positions that her father held, such as President of the Royal Society of Arts and Master of the Corporation of Trinity House. This shows how ready she is to step into leadership roles within British institutions. What's truly impressive is how Anne manages to juggle all these responsibilities. In 2017, it was reported that she had completed the most engagements of all the royals, even outpacing the Queen herself. That's how she earned the title of the hardest-working royal. Her no-nonsense approach to duty is perfectly summed up by her motto, "Keep me busy, I'm here to work." It really shows her commitment to serving others. Anne's incredible sense of duty really shone through during the events surrounding Queen Elizabeth II's passing in 2022. She made history by becoming the first woman to join the Vigil of the Princes, standing guard beside her mother's coffin at both St. Giles Cathedral in Edinburgh and later at Westminster Hall. This heartfelt act of respect showed just how much she values her role in the royal family, stepping up to take on even the most serious responsibilities. Her commitment to charity work is still going strong. Anne is involved with organizations like Mercy Ships, which operates hospital ships to provide medical care in developing countries. She's also a big supporter of initiatives that encourage women to pursue careers in science, engineering, and construction. Her diverse patronages reflect her wide-ranging interests and her desire to uplift communities and industries wherever she can. Throughout her career, Anne has maintained a straightforward, no-nonsense image. Her sharp wit and sometimes blunt manner even earned her the playful nickname Her Royal Rudeness back in the day. But these qualities have helped her build a reputation for being sincere and reliable. Unlike some other royals, she chose not to give her children titles, preferring to let them find their own paths. Even in her 70s, Anne shows no signs of slowing down. In 2023, she took over from the Duke of Kent as president of the Commonwealth War Graves Commission, adding yet another responsibility to her already impressive list. This role involves honoring the memory of those who lost their lives in conflicts, which aligns perfectly with her long-standing support for military organizations. She's truly a dedicated and hardworking member of the royal family. Now let's talk about Princess Anne's love life. She got married to Mark Phillips for the first time. Between 1968 and 1969, Anne and Mark met at a party for horse lovers. Mark was a captain in the Queen's Dragoon Guards. The fact that they both loved horses brought them together. By 1973, their relationship was serious enough that they could tell everyone they were getting married on May 29, 1973. The wedding, which took place at Westminster Abbey on November 14, 1973, was special and one of the most watched in the history of royal weddings. About 100 million people watched it live on TV. Anne and Mark moved right away to their new country home, which they named Gatcombe Park, after getting married. Mark turned down an offer of an earldom, which is common for single men who marry into the royal family. Mark got married into the royal family. This is a really interesting fact. Because they made this choice, their children, Peter, born in 1977, and Zara, born in 1981, did not get any official names. Even so, the family has grown, and they now have 5 grandkids. It's great to get together with the whole family. In spite of that, Anne and Mark did not always have a good time. When August 1989 came around, it was clear that the couple's marriage was having some problems. Anne and Mark Phillips were clearly growing farther apart from each other because they spent less and less time together. Even worse, there were reports of sexual relationships, which made things even worse. The palace announced on April 13, 1992, that Anne had filed for divorce, even though they had said at first that they were not going to get a divorce. After 10 days, it was official. Anne and Mark were still active with their kids, Peter and Zara, even though they weren't married anymore. He or she shared parenting of the kids. They were both determined to help their kids get through the problems they were having. Now we'll talk about Princess Anne's second marriage to Sir Timothy Lawrence. The first time Tim Lawrence met Anne was when he was working on the Royal Yacht Britannia in 1986. Lawrence was a captain in the Royal Navy and also worked as an equerry for the Queen at that time. Consequently, he frequently got in touch with Anne. The link between them grew over time, and by the start of 1989, it was getting a lot of attention. The public learned about their connection when some of their private letters were printed in The Sun. There was a lot of news about Anne and Timothy's friendship getting stronger, but them. During the time they were together, they didn't make a lot of noise. Around the corner from Balmoral Castle in Scotland is Crathie Kirk, which is where their small wedding service took place on December 12, 1992. Because the pair wanted the wedding to be just the two of them, it was small and private with only about 30 people present. The Church of England had stricter rules about divorce and getting married again. On the other hand, the Church of Scotland said that divorced people could get married again under certain circumstances. Because of this, Crathie Kirk was a great place for their wedding. It was a big deal for Anne to decide to get married again after her first marriage ended in divorce. Princess Victoria of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha was the last princess to do this until not long ago. In preparation for her wedding to Timothy Lawrence, Anne chose a dress that was both simple and beautiful. Besides that, she wore a white jacket over a knee-length dress and had a small bunch of white flowers in her hair. A round ruby was set in the middle of her engagement ring, and there were 3 small diamonds on each side of the band. Her jewelry was beautiful. Right after the wedding was over, Anne and Timothy's guests joined them at Crathie Lodge for a small party. Timothy Lawrence and his wife did not get a title like other royal couples did. He also decided to stay out of the public eye so he could focus on his work and personal life. The enduring connection between Charles and Anne. The bond between Charles and Anne has really stood the test of time. Even though they've walked different paths in the royal family, Princess Anne and King Charles III share a close, playful, and supportive relationship. With only 21 months between them, they spent a lot of their childhood together, navigating the ups and downs of royal life while their parents were often off on official duties. From their early days at Buckingham Palace to their individual passions and responsibilities as adults, Charles and Anne's relationship has always been filled with camaraderie and support. You could really see how close they were growing up as toddlers in that grand palace. After their mum's coronation, Charles and Anne became each other's main playmates in a royal household where their parents were frequently away for work. This early connection helped them rely on one another, creating a bond that stayed strong even as they chose different paths. While Charles was prepared for his future role as king, Anne carved out her identity as one of the hardest-working royals, known for her extensive charity work and public appearances. Despite having different roles, their shared experiences as royal siblings brought them closer together. Recently, the public has been treated to glimpses of their fun dynamic. During King Charles's coronation celebrations, a sweet moment was captured on camera when Princess Anne approached her brother with a cheerful, "Hello, old bean." This simple, playful exchange was a lovely reminder of their enduring connection and the light-hearted spirit they've kept alive over the years. Despite their serious royal duties, Charles and Anne have never shied away from having a bit of fun together. Whether they're at the Braemar Games or sharing a laugh at Buckingham Palace, they show that even with all the pressures of royal life, there's always room for some good times. One of the big things that brings them closer is their shared love of horses. They both inherited this passion from their mom, Queen Elizabeth II, who was a keen rider. When they were younger, Charles and Anne would often ride together, bonding over their love of equestrian activities. Even as adults, you can catch them at polo matches, reflecting their mutual appreciation for all things horse-related. But it's not just about sports. Gardening is another passion they share. As kids, they spent time together tending to a little vegetable patch at Buckingham Palace. Charles fondly remembers how he and Anne attempted to grow tomatoes with a bit of guidance from Mr. Nutbeam, the palace's head gardener. They delighted in the simple joys of planting and nurturing their tiny garden, a hobby that has stuck with them into adulthood. Today, Charles is quite a gardening enthusiast, especially at his residence Highgrove House, where he's created the famous Highgrove Gardens. He even designed a garden for the RHS Chelsea Flower Show back in 2001. Anne might not be as publicly involved in gardening projects, but she still loves spending time outdoors and connecting with nature. Their shared interests have created a beautiful common ground, allowing them to enjoy moments together away from their royal responsibilities. Despite their busy schedules, Charles and Anne always make time for one another, which is a true testament to the strength of their relationship. Over the years, Anne has been a rock for her brother, especially during tough times. After Queen Elizabeth II passed away, Anne was right there with Charles, playing a vital role in all the ceremonies and traditions that marked this big transition. She stood by his side during the late Queen's procession, showing just how much support she had for him as he stepped into his new role as king. When it came time for the coronation, Anne earned the prestigious title of Gold Stick in Waiting. This historic role meant she acted as a bodyguard, entrusted with keeping the monarch safe. She also rode on horseback right behind Charles and Queen Camilla, making it clear how committed she was to her brother and his new responsibilities. But their bond isn't just about serious duties, they also know how to have a good laugh together. Over the years, they've been spotted sharing smiles and jokes at public events, whether they're at official engagements or family gatherings. One particularly memorable moment happened during the late Queen's Platinum Jubilee celebrations, where Charles and Anne were caught joking and enjoying each other's company. Anne's loyalty really shone through when Charles faced a health scare in 2024. Her support during this challenging time highlighted just how deep their connection runs, proving she'll always be there for him no matter what. In early 2024, the world was taken aback when Buckingham Palace announced that King Charles had been diagnosed with cancer. The news came after he underwent a routine procedure to treat benign prostate enlargement, during which doctors discovered a separate health issue that prompted further tests. These tests ultimately revealed the presence of a form of cancer. While the palace clarified that it was not prostate cancer, they have not disclosed additional details about the specific type of cancer the king is facing. Despite the widespread concern both nationally and globally, Charles remained composed, expressing gratitude for the swift intervention of his medical team and the overwhelming support he received from the public. His doctors recommended a series of regular treatments, advising him to temporarily step back from his public-facing duties. Although his spirit remained unbroken, it was clear that his health required careful management, inevitably impacting his royal responsibilities. As Charles began his treatment and reduced his public engagements, a pressing question arose. Who would take on the king's many duties during this period? This is where Princess Anne, Charles's younger sister, stepped up to the plate. Known for her relentless work ethic and commitment to royal duties, Anne quietly took on many responsibilities that would have otherwise fallen to Charles. She ensured that there were no gaps or lapses in the royal presence, allowing the public to feel reassured in the absence of their king. From attending state functions to representing the royal family at international events, Anne became the steady hand guiding the monarchy through this potentially turbulent time. While Princess Anne was more than willing to step up during King Charles's health crisis, this period also revealed some underlying tensions within the royal family. Reports began to surface about a small but significant rift between Anne and Camilla, the Queen. The issue wasn't so much about who would handle the king's duties, but rather how those responsibilities were being managed. Camilla, as queen, insisted that Charles maintain some of his commitments, even if it meant he could only handle a limited number of engagements. Her intention was clear. She wanted the public to see their king as strong and resilient even in the face of illness. However, this approach placed pressure on Charles to appear publicly when his health might have required more rest. For Princess Anne, this strategy seemed impractical and at times even a little reckless. She believed that Charles needed to focus solely on his recovery, and that the family should rally around him to cover his duties without any expectation for him to push beyond his limits. Anne's views weren't merely born out of concern for her brother, they also stemmed from her strong sense of duty. Known as the hardest-working royal, she often took on engagements without complaint, believing that the solution was obvious. She would carry the extra load, allowing Charles all the time he needed to recover. As the situation unfolded, the tension between Anne and Camilla seemed to build behind the scenes. While Anne was taking on more royal engagements than ever, some perceived Camilla's approach to handling Charles's illness as a lack of full commitment to her new role as queen. In moments where a united front would have been beneficial, the differing approaches of Anne and Camilla became evident, highlighting the complexities of royal responsibilities and family dynamics during a challenging time. According to insiders, Princess Anne held a strong opinion that if Camilla truly wished to support Charles, she should take on more of his public duties herself, rather than urging him to maintain his schedule despite his health challenges. Never one to mince words, Anne privately expressed her frustrations, questioning why Camilla chose to continue with what appeared to be a business-as-usual approach. Her stance was straightforward. The king's health should come first, and if that meant stepping back completely, then so be it. In contrast, Camilla saw things differently. She believed that if Charles completely withdrew from public life, even temporarily, it would generate concern and uncertainty among the public. For Camilla, the public needed to witness stability and continuity in the monarchy, which included seeing their king, even if only occasionally. Ultimately, it was Anne who bore the brunt of the additional work during this tumultuous period. Although she remained diplomatic and refrained from letting any tension show in public, those close to her knew she was under immense pressure. Anne's unwavering commitment meant that she often traveled across the country, attending events and taking on duties that were far removed from her usual role. She did this not for recognition, but because she believed it was her duty to support her brother and to ensure that the wheels of the monarchy continued to turn smoothly. As Charles's health began to show signs of improvement, he gradually resumed some of his duties. He remained under medical supervision, and his engagements were carefully planned to ensure that his recovery was not compromised. The palace announced that while Charles's treatment would continue, he was feeling positive about his progress and eager to slowly re-enter his public role. Throughout this time, Anne continued to support her brother, stepping in whenever needed while also maintaining a watchful eye on his well-being. Breaking the silence. According to reports, Princess Anne has made a surprising admission by saying, "It's time to tell everything," which implies that Camilla has revealed her true colors during a time when Charles needed assistance the most. It was an emotional moment for Charles, who was obviously upset, with tears welling up as he acknowledged Anne's age and her silent perseverance over the years. This unexpected news has prompted issues about Camilla's readiness to be queen, and it was a moment that Charles experienced. During this time, Camilla appeared genuinely stunned as she attempted to make sense of the sudden change in the dynamics. Some sources have even indicated that this combination of circumstances led to a startling choice by King Charles. It has been rumored that he has nominated his sister, Princess Anne, as the new queen. It would indicate that Charles's profound faith in Anne is the driving force behind this decision-making. She has been his unwavering supporter throughout his whole life and reign, exemplifying the tenacity and work ethic that he considers to be indispensable for guiding the monarchy through the problems of the modern day. When it comes to carrying the royal family forward, even in the face of increasing pressures, Charles sees Anne as the embodiment of the strength and dedication that is required. It has been reported by various sources that Anne is more than prepared to take on this new position and carry the crown. Over the course of many years, she has devoted her entire life to doing her duties completely without ever seeking the limelight. Nevertheless, at this crucial juncture, she is making preparations to take the initiative, demonstrating her aspiration to serve not only in the background, but also as a prominent figure inside the monarchy. This new function may be a representation of Anne's commitment to standing firmly by her brother's side, feeling that she can serve him more effectively than Camilla. It is not a secret that Anne's relationship with Camilla has been strained, and this new role may indicate Anne's commitment to this commitment. What are your thoughts on the choice that was made? Please share your thoughts with us in the comments section and check out our channel for further developments.